Hey there, Alex Kidman here, today with a slightly different thing. This isn't a product review, this is more about product reviewing. So I suspect this might not do great traffic, but it's a point I really want to make because I've been getting a bit of commentary, and I love people commenting. This is not a complaint about that. I've been getting a bit of commentary about how I'm not testing things to the point of destruction, that I'm not doing drop tests properly, that kind of thing when I'm doing toughened phones or cases or things like that. And look, yes, in one sense I'm not, but I want to explain why I'm not, and why, in fact, I think so many YouTube videos that go, we destruction tested the new iPhone, the new Samsung, the new Google, the new whatever, are just garbage. They're really bad. They're basically just torture porn for phones. They're not indicative of really much of anything. So why don't I destruction test phones? Why don't I just throw that phone at the ground until it cracks so I can show how many times it fell before it cracked? Well, there's a couple of reasons. To be honest, the first is purely financial. And that's to do with the fact that, look, I'm a growing YouTube channel. I'm happy with how this channel is going, but I'm a minnow at the moment. I would love to be bigger. Obviously, like, comment, subscribe, all those good things. I'm obliged to say that by YouTube law, by the way. But the reality is this channel doesn't generate enough revenue for me to be able to say, right, I can afford to go out and buy this phone and totally trash it. And yes, obviously there are channels that do that. Mostly, again, I would say for the salacious clicks. I'll get into why I think that's true later. I'm not in that position. The vast majority of the phones that I am testing, the vast majority of anything that I'm testing is loan equipment from those companies. They belong to the Apples, the Samsungs, the Googles, the H&Ds, whoever, and they're going to go back. It's their property. If I destroy it, I pay for it. It's not actually an affordable thing. But okay, there are channels out there that do that kind of thing, that do offer that kind of service to you, the YouTube viewer. So, you know, they're doing really well. Great for them financially. I'm happy for them. But still, even if I had those kinds of funds, I wouldn't be engaging in that kind of torture porn. Why? Well, largely because most of it, the vast majority of it, not 100%, there are some legitimate players out there, but they're few and far between, aren't really proving much of anything at all. So let's say I've got a toughened phone and I just throw it at the concrete or drop it off a building or smash it with a sledgehammer until it's broken to pieces. What have I really proved? Well, I've proved that I can break a phone. And newsflash, we know phones break. I'm sure every single day you see someone with a broken phone screen. I know certainly it's very rare for me to go a day without seeing one unless I don't actually go out of the house. And so we know phones break. We know they will break. We know human beings are clumsy. All of that is totally true. And nobody is selling a 100% indestructible phone. Quick comment, by the way, here on the so-called indestructible phone case market. Yes, those can add protection. Yes, I'm very much in favor of cases. No, I don't personally believe that they are taking the first shot and the first drop that they do of those because they're ads. They're taking the one that makes them look best. But I digress. The real issue here, though, is that this just isn't scientific testing, especially if you're just doing it to one device, because one device can have little individual flaws. Maybe it was the one that was made at 3 a.m. in the Chinese factory where they're generally all produced, and the operator was a little bit tired, or the robot was a little bit off skew, and the screen is not quite on to within the microns of precision it needs to be, so that one cracks a little bit more easily than the million others they made. You're creating one data point, but you're not even doing that. So I have been through the process of how phones are built. I've done factory tours. I've seen how all this stuff is done. And I've seen R&D labs, and I've seen how they work. And they work scientifically with control samples, with controlled drops, with shock sensors. It's a whole process. There are full standards for this kind of stuff, which is why you'll sometimes see things advertised as being tested to a standard. And that's fine, and that's true, and there they have to meet all sorts of real criteria in terms of having multiple devices, in terms of having tested over time and being able to prove for all sorts of atmospheric conditions and temperature, all sorts of things, plus using shock sensors so you can actually say, this device was dropped with this much force. If I drop a phone once, or if I throw it at the ground, that's different force. It's going to land on different edges. There's all sorts of variables in play. Just throwing or dropping a phone with none of that in play only proves that you can break a phone. And as I said, we already know that. That's just torture porn. I mean, I think it comes back to delve back in YouTube history, things like the infamous Will It Blend videos. And look, I watched those back in the day. They were funny as, they were great entertainment, very good and effective as I understand it, advertising, although I think those blenders might have fallen foul of Australian law if they were ever sold here. But again, I digress, because they were kind of shocking. They were oh my God, someone's blending an iPad. You'd never actually do that in real life. They didn't show that the iPad was not particularly robust. They just showed theoretically that their blender was to an extent which was not really practical in terms of the way that you would actually use that blender. So, and that birthed the whole kind of cool, people like seeing stuff blow up, which of course they do. It's why we watch action movies and stuff like that. So by all means, go out and watch people destroy phones, but don't think, hey, that's a really good test. When I'm putting that kind of content into my videos, when I'm showing off, hey, this survived dropping, usually I will do illustrative versions of that. And yeah, I'll do that in a somewhat controlled way because, again, as I said at the start, I can't really afford a whole bunch of phones that aren't mine in the first place, but also because I can't quantify this is exactly how this works for everyone, this is exactly this tough, and neither can nearly everyone else online. Realistically though as well, I think it doesn't show a real use case. Nobody sets out thinking, right, I'm just going to throw my phone at the ground until it smashes, unless they want to smash it. What happens in real life is we drop our phones. It happens to all of us. Phones are slippery, or our attention's not quite there, or we get bumped or whatever. Your phone drops to the ground and you don't want it to break. That's perfectly natural, and that happens a fair bit. That's really what you should be looking for in terms of phone protection, because that's the kind of thing that is going to happen to you. Now, I know this was a bit of a rant, but it's a bugbear of mine that people kind of think, oh, well, unless you're destroying the phone, you're not properly testing it. No, unless you are scientifically testing the phone, you're not properly testing it. That's the point I'm trying to make. Thanks for watching.